Welcome to Talk to Me. I'm your host, Brenda Warren, the Solutionist. I see things other people often miss. I help veterans, entrepreneurs, and authors turn their mess or their mission into a message for the masses. And today I have fellow podcaster, Miss Kat Corchado, here with me today. She is a national consultant and trainer with the Women Veterans Network, also known as Woven. She volunteered and was chosen as one of the original peer leaders with Woven program back in 2017. She's helped lead over 15 in-person and most recently online peer groups. Kat conducted one of the first Woven online peer group leader trainings. She's an advocate and champion for all women veterans, helping them to navigate the transition process from active duty to civilian, which is why Woven was the perfect fit for this retired veteran. Before her position with Woven, Kat retired from the United States Air Force at Charleston Air Force Base in South Carolina, where she spent her entire career in communications. She retired as a project manager in communications. Additionally, Kat has spent over 37 years in the fitness industry as a personal trainer and Pilates instructor. Y'all, I need her right now. Helping women with their health and fitness needs. Kat is the host of the podcast Sisters, in Service, where she has conversations for and about women veterans, military spouses, Blue, and our must beloved Gold Star families. And I'm excited to have her here with me on Talk to Me today. Kat, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor. Thank you.
You know, it's not often that I get to speak to fellow podcasters, so I really enjoy that because it's always fun to see the reaction when the tables are flipped, because you're used to doing the interviews. And so now you're being interviewed today. And I was wondering, what got you started on doing the podcast itself?
It started as a thought. It came from, I thought it'd be really cool for our Women Veterans Network to have a podcast. And they said, yeah, go ahead and do it, And I thought this would be really cool. And I thought, well, wow, if I'm going to do all of this work, I kind of want it to be mine. I can choose who I want to be on the show. I can pick the topic, etc. But it was something that was on my heart and in my mind for about a year, but I was so busy, I couldn't get it started. And then COVID hit and someone said, what can you say you've done with your time with COVID? And this was back when we thought it was only going to be a few months. And I thought this is the perfect time to start it. So in October of last year, I started my podcast.
So once you started the podcast, did you have trouble finding other veterans that wanted to come on the show?
Absolutely not. I get to meet a lot of women through Woven. I get to also meet a lot of people on Clubhouse. So a lot of my guests have come from Clubhouse because you can hear them speak. You can hear the passion or not in their voice about what they do. And when I hear someone that I think would be a good guest, I just go ahead and message them and say, hey, I'm in a Clubhouse with you. Would you be interested in being on my podcast? And I have yet to be turned down. So it's been great.
Now, do you necessarily have to pick a topic, or is it just that they're a veteran and whatever that they're going on, you're kind of interested in that?
I usually pick a topic that is interesting to both men and women veterans. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I like to do is highlight both male and female veterans who are entrepreneurs and shout them out and say, hey, tell us about your business. Where are you? What are you doing? How, where can we find you? How can we get you more business?
So when you're talking to the veterans, are you finding that many of them are already on their entrepreneur journey, or are a lot of them just starting because of the transition?
I think both. Some of them I've talked to are just beginning. Some of them have been in it for a while. But it's hard with COVID to know where people are. So I get to speak to people from all over the United States, especially, my veteran sisters and brothers, and getting them to talk about their business to people who may not know that where they are in their state or in their city.
When you find maybe one of the newer people that come in, have you found that they've been kind of shy about talking about their businesses when they're not maybe fully fleshed out? Because I don't know if you found this, but I found veterans, as they're making the transition, sometimes feel like maybe they're not ready to come on a podcast or speak. But after listening to your podcast, they're very friendly and they're fun. And
yes.
So could you speak to that?
Sure. A lot of the people that come on my podcast are either transitioning or they've already been out for a little while. So that's both of those are different in and of themselves. But the most of the time when I speak to them, if they have a business, they've been doing the business for a while. A lot of them will say, you know what, I'm transitioning, but I really want to start a business, but I need to get my feet on the ground first. And so I usually say, hey, when you get that business up and running, contact me and we'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
Now, does your Women's Veterans Network help women veterans that are going to start a business, or is it strictly for the transition?
The Women Veterans Network is more about connection. So you may know that women veterans have a tendency to feel more isolation than the men do. Because they've got other things going on. If you get out of the military, you've got kids, you're trying to find schools, you're trying to get a job, you're trying to get babysitting, you're trying to get all this stuff. Who has time to network when you've got all of that going on? Then when you finally get it sorted out, you're sitting there looking around going, where are my veteran sisters? Where are they? And so we want to get to them prior to that, so they know that maybe they're not ready now, but when they are ready, that Woven's here and they can feel that connection with other women veterans.
So once you became a trainer for Woven and you saw all the possibilities and you said, okay, I'm going to start this podcast, what was your biggest challenge as an entrepreneur starting this podcast?
Hitting the record button. It's, well, not so much the record button, but, getting it on a platform where other people can hear it, and I had to get out of my own way. I said, you know what, just do it. And I had to push the button, but it's scary, but sometimes you don't grow if you're not walking forward with a little bit of fear, then you're not growing as a person. And now to think that I've come upon almost a year of podcasting seems almost incredible to me, that I still love it this much and I want to do it and make it grow. So, yeah.
What would you say has been your greatest joy since starting the podcast?
Connecting with the guests that are on my podcast, just like we're doing now. We're having a conversation, we're talking, we're laughing, we're getting the information out there, but we're also getting some insight into who those people are as people and as veterans and as entrepreneurs, if that happens to be what they're doing at that point.
Kat, when I look at all the different podcasters that I have been associated with over the past year because of places like where I met you in Pocket Friends, which is on Clubhouse, and then the people that have just been so generous. Have you found generosity to be one of the things that have helped propel you in you being able to develop to become the podcaster that you envision yourself being over this past year?
Yes, I'm actually quite surprised at the generosity of some of the rooms that are on Clubhouse, the way people share information, because you want everybody to be successful. You don't want anybody to fail. If you start a podcast, you want to give people as much information as they can. Now, they can do what they want with that information. They'll either take it or leave it. But, sometimes when you're brand new at something and you hear someone talking who's been in the business for a long time, some of this stuff is above your head. But what I do is I write it down because I'm going to get there eventually. And then I'll pull that note and go, yeah, I'm ready for that now. So I've learned quite a bit from a lot of people on Clubhouse, a lot of different podcasters, and I just listen and I have notes. I write notes all the time.
I do the same. I would say one of the things that I missed coming out of the military was the camaraderie. And I am very happy to say that because of the Pocket Friends, Sid, and Kim and Angela. I don't want to miss Carrie from Coffee with Carrie, just all the different podcasters there. I felt a sense of camaraderie that I haven't felt since I left the military. And when they had the recent podcaster summit, that was a game changer for me. Do you have any thoughts on that for how that worked for you, or were you involved in that at all?
I was. What's interesting is, I've been wanting to be a speaker for a long time. And so I was listening in on one of their rooms, and they were just starting to talk about the summit. And they said, oh, we're looking for speakers. And what I love is the fact that they didn't just have speakers or podcasters who had been doing podcasting for a while. They also included people like me, who had only been doing it for a while. And I really love that concept because there are other people listening who maybe haven't started a podcast or maybe have just started. And to hear from someone who's only been doing it a little while like me, to be able to speak on it and talk about my podcast, you can see yourself in that person. But for someone who's been doing it for 15 years, it's like, it's cool that they've been doing that long, but it's hard to engage a little bit and say, oh, I see myself in 15 years doing podcasting, But for someone who's been doing it for a small amount of time, you can sit there and go, wow, they're doing this. Let me try that. So it was just very cool that they included me as one of the speakers.
What would you say if you had one tip for someone that wanted to start a podcast because maybe they're a veteran in transition and they've started a new career like you did, and they want to now talk about it? What would be one tip you give them?
About starting a podcast?
Yes.
I would say think it through. I'm a planner. I have to have my steps in front of me. Some people will just, like swimmers, they're like, I don't know how to swim, but I'm going to jump in the deep end and just learn how to do it on the fly. That's not me.
That's me. I didn't plan a thing, Kat. I just got on my computer and started running my mouth.
And maybe some people are like that, but, think about why you're doing the podcast, because that's what's going to get you through pod fade. That's what's going to keep you moving on those times when maybe you're not getting as many downloads as you want. You can sit there and say, okay, what can I do to improve? And if you're doing your podcast, not because you're wanting to make money or not because other people are doing it, just seems to be cool to do, but it actually comes from your heart, then you're going to be a long hauler. You're going to be one of those people that are really going to, 5 years from now, say, I remember when she started or he started their podcast. So that's what I would say is, make it come from your heart. What is it you're trying to convey to people? Who do you want your audience to be to listen to this information?
Kat, I used to have been told that I could plan a trip to the bathroom, which I was like, so I know I do plan things, but when it came to this podcast, I did something. I got out of my comfort zone and I literally just pushed play and started doing it. I had no idea there should be intros. I had no idea there were other people. Actually, I'm sad to say this, that there were other people really doing this for a living. And I just wanted to be able to talk to people that were doing things I thought were interesting. So I got my why after the fact. I'm clear on it now, but I think that's a good tip for people. I want to shift back to Sisters in Service and ask, where did that concept come from?
I wanted the title to be something that just rolled off the tongue. I didn't want it to be a bunch of words. I wanted something that it was there. Boom. Sisters in Service. You see that, you see, my logo and you're like, I get it. Sometimes you look at some podcast titles and you're like, I don't know. I want it to be more of sisters. We're all sisters as military and now as veterans in service. We were in service together, but now we're in service now also because we want to help people, whether it's in business, whether you're trying to open your business, whether you're a coach or whatever it is, you still want to help people. So Sisters in Service is kind of twofold. It means when we were in service in the military, but also when we're in service out of the military.
So now that you're doing the podcast, are there any offshoots from the podcast that you're thinking about doing down the road, maybe?
Yes, I would love to get more into working with women one-on-one as an empowerment coach, also speaking engagements, because as you know, I'm very chatty. I can speak. I have no fear standing in front of people talking. But the podcast is the wheel, and then there's going to be spokes from that wheel. And then speaking and coaching are going to be off of that podcast.
How did your years in the military under the communication field help you with what you're doing now?
I think the communication field helped me to speak to almost anybody. I mean, and when I say that, people say, well, you're in the military, you should be able to speak to anybody, but to be very exact and very specific in what I say and how I say it, not being afraid to speak to anybody regardless of their rank, whether they just came in with no stripes or whether they've got stars on their sleeves. There's still people, and being able to speak to them and also just being able to convey my message as much as possible. So I was in different aspects of communication, and the last part was actually the communications part of communications, i.e. cell phones, computers, et cetera, stuff like that. So I got to know a little bit about it before I got out of the military.
Additionally to what you do with Sisters in Service and with the Woven Network, you have been in fitness for 37 years, helping women with their fitness and taking care. And I don't know if you even know this, but one day during Clubhouse, you gave me a tip that changed my life. Ready to hear what it is?
Yes.
I was telling you about me hiring a personal trainer and about some of my injuries. And you told me about using Pilates to strengthen my core so that I wouldn't have the injuries, because I have hired trainers before, but each time I've ended up getting injured or I had to stop. My new trainer was very impressed with what I had done prior to them arriving and what I continue to do because of a conversation you had with me on Clubhouse about Pilates. So I want to say thank you for that, because it made a difference in how my trainer trains me. It also made a difference in how I train. It also gave me permission to speak up for myself, because
absolutely,
this time when I got a trainer, I originally said to him, I said, the first thing I want to do is strengthen my core. I've been told that Pilates is a good way to go. And they were very impressed that I knew that. And so we spent the first month of my training just working on core strength.
I love that. I'm so excited.
That happened before, because I did not even know core strength was that important.
Yeah. So if you think of your core as the center of your body, it's the I call it the motor. And so everything is attached to the motor. Every time you take a step, you should be feeling your abs working, and if you have no core strength, then everything else, whether it's walking, standing, climbing, lifting, is going to seem so much harder because you don't have core strength. So I'm so happy.
Yes, I know I am, because I can feel the difference. And what was interesting is, although it's been a month into my working out with a trainer, I haven't lost any weight, but my goodness, have I lost inches. Yes. I have definitely lost. I see my curves coming back. So, and I can see the strength in my stomach, and it's been an amazing journey. So I thank you for that tip that you gave me that day. Now, right now, are you having conversations on your podcast about fitness as well?
We talk about a lot of things on the podcast. And one was, I actually had someone on my podcast. Her name is Davina Wong. And I was really kind of interested. I said, how many Pilates instructors out there were also veterans.
Mm.
And it was her and me.
Wow.
No, I don't know. I didn't do that big of big leap into it. But when I found out she was a Pilates instructor, I thought, wow, I'm going to have her on my podcast and we can just dish about Pilates. So it was just a lot of fun to do that.
That is cool. I would say if you had to give your younger self a piece of advice with all that you're doing right now, what would that advice be?
I would have told myself to not be scared and just do it. I mean, I've had a lot of these thoughts for years, but I was afraid to move forward, and just to not be afraid, just do it, just go for it. And I wish I had started this in my 40s, because I would be so much further ahead. But timing is everything, and I feel this was the best timing for me.
With that thought, with all that you're doing right now, the podcast, the fitness, working with Woven and helping veterans, and just being such an amazing resource, and how does all of this help you live your best life now?
It's all the things that I've been wanting to do. When you're younger, you're working, you're doing all this stuff, and you have these ideas. But this is what I'd always had in the back of my mind, and I'm actually doing it now. And so when I sit back and I think, wow, I want to do a podcast. I did a podcast. I want to help women veterans. I'm doing that. I wanted to be a subject matter expert, and I'm doing that. I'm on Clubhouse. I said, when I get on Clubhouse, every time I get in a room, I'm coming up on stage and I'm saying something. And so I'm doing all of those things that are helping move people forward, only because I didn't have that coming out of the military. I wish someone had said, hey, you want to start a business? Come over here. Let's walk that path together. You're transitioning. Come on, I'll help you through that too. And now people have that. And I feel like I'm helping in that aspect, because we all know what transition's like. It's no better now than it was when I got out of the military 21 years ago. And so to help these people through that, and they can come out on the other side and say, wow, that was great. Just gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling, you're helping in some way.
Yeah, it does. Well, Kat, I thank you for being on the show and talking with me today. And I ask you to stand by while I thank a veteran. If any of you out there watching today ever wanted to thank a veteran, it's not going to cost you a dime, but I have an amazing way for you to do it. All you have to do is go to the website above my head. It's called www.nevcc.org/projects and join the Basket Brigade. If you join the Basket Brigade, you will find that there are 12 writing prompts, one for every month of the year. You can pick one or do them all. Write a word, write a sentence, write a paragraph, and tell a veteran thank you. Once you do, Lisa Deshawn, the executive director of the New England Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and her staff will compile all those wonderful thank yous into a beautifully illustrated book. They're going to place that book, once it's completed, into a basket full of goodies. And on January 1st, 2022, some very fortunate veterans will receive that basket with your thank you in it. It's a way to let them know that they matter. It's never too late to say thank you, especially not to a veteran. So just go to www.nevcc.org/projects if you'd like to participate. And Kat, thank you for your service, and thank you for being here on Talk to Me. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
No, just thank you so much for having me on your show. And for anyone out there that is thinking of doing something, well, I really want to do this, just do it. Just find out as much information as you can and move forward, whether it's baby steps or big steps, like Brenda likes to jump in the deep end. It doesn't matter. Just keep moving forward. That's my best advice. Just keep moving forward.
Well, remember here on Talk to Me, we like to help everybody tap in. So I want you guys to tap into Kat because she has something that's amazing for all of you. What I want you to know, if you are a woman veteran and you're ready to tap in with Kat, this is all you have to do. You have to transform your mind of thinking that you are alone, because you are not, because Kat is here with the Women Veterans Network to help you find a smooth transition. All you have to do is announce to the world that I'm ready to get the support I need. Then you prepare yourself by going to her website and finding the resources that are there. There's a blog, there's all kind of wonderful information there. And then I want you to imagine what your life would be like once you get access to the information that Kat wants to provide for you. And then I want you to nurture that thought and know that you are not alone, because if you are a veteran, there are sisters in service ready to serve you and help you go to the next level. So tap into Kat to get that support. Kat, again, thank you for being on Talk to Me. It was my pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much.
And remember, folks, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. Choose wisely. Be blessed.